Quick life update real quick. Yeah, my car got broken into today. Yeah, I was at a grocery store and it just happened. And they took my bag and a good amount of valuables, so I'm actually pretty sad right now. But, patch 1.4 for Legends of Runeterra is coming out, and with it, a new game mode called Gauntlet, and also a bunch of card changes. But, today I'm just going over card changes, because my motivation's at an all-time low right now, because someone, within the 10 minutes I was in the supermarket, broke into my car and just kind of took my backpack. So, big sad. Darius, at level 2, he's getting a 1 health upgrade. So he's going from 5 health to 6. This making him a 10-6 upon leveling up. It makes him a bit more consistent, so he's not like the easiest thing to remove, but also aggro still wants to use him a little bit because a 10-6 with Overwhelm is pretty good. And since current Noxus aggro runs really cheap and doesn't like the expensive cards, maybe they'll want to run him. Anivia, she's going from a 7 cost to a 6 cost, making her an easier pick to have. There were other champions like Nautilus or Karma that were just so much better, and Anivia at 7 mana didn't seem like it was worth it. But now she might get picked up by a couple more people, along with this nice little text right here saying also hits the enemy nexus, because they're fixing consistencies, which I will go over at the end of the video. Braum. I like this one. Braum's actually getting attack now, so at level 1, he'll have 1 attack, at level 2, he'll have 2 attack. Sure, at the cost of some of this power, his cost is going from a 3 to a 4, and also at level 2, his health is going to go down a little bit, from 7 to 6. But now at level 1, he has a new ability that the first time he survives damage, he summons a Mighty Poro, which, gives you some good value early on. Super Mega Death Rocket. Sure, it's not a champion card, but it's a spell created by a champion, so, it counts. Its cost is going from 2 to 1, making it, more consistent. There's absolutely no reason to not play it now. You get value every time. Why wouldn't you do it? Continuing on to followers and spells. Genevieve Elmhart is getting a +1/+1 buff, setting her into a 4/4 to a 5/5. Scout has been seen as a weaker keyword. The monsters on the lower side just because they can usually attack twice. So before, Cithria the Bold was seen as a stronger card, but now maybe at a 5/5 is going to be a good contender for a 6 mana spot. Unyielding Spirit, I am so happy about this one. It's going from a burst spell to a fast spell. Unyielding Spirit used to be a burst card that just makes a card completely invulnerable to most forms of removal except to bouncing from cards like Recall or Obliterate from this big fish deep dude. Now that Unyielding Spirit's a fast spell, it allows for more counterplay and makes Unyielding Spirit feel less toxic. A card that on 8 you just can't do anything about because its burst seems really unfair, so I really appreciate them changing this. Basilisk Rider going from 2 health to 3. They want to make the Noxus deck more diversified. They don't want just these 3 costs that deal a lot of direct damage. They want to add more minions to the pool. So changing his health from 2 to 3 gives a possible chance at a 6/4 with Overwhelm for 4 cost, and might be considered to be picked up in Noxus aggro decks. Captain Farron, instead of completely removing your hand from the game, now adds 3 decimates to hand. Sure. In some cases you can give up 5 cards in hand for 5 decimates, but sometimes that late in the game you don't have a hand. So if you have 1 card in hand and now you suddenly draw 3 decimates, that's pretty good value. You still get 12 damage and it's late game, so that should be enough to finish off the opponent. Poro Herder going from 4 cost to 2 cost, while his power is going from 3 to 2, and health from 4 to 3. Along with the text change going from if you control a Poro, draw 2. Now it's if you control a Poro, draw 1. This gives Poro decks, which I don't know how they run, more options on curve 2. Sure, they don't draw as much, but still you have a good minion that gives you a draw if you control Poro. She Who Wanders now has regeneration. She Who Wanders is a great card to finish off the game, but Riot saw that she needed a little bit more to really push the fact that she's an endgame boss. So now, She Who Wanders is regenerating each turn, so along with popping all the weak monsters on the field, she now is gaining her health back at the end of each turn. They Who Endure, from 6 cost to 7 cost. This one's okay because in Swarm decks she would just get too strong, and setting her from a 6 cost to a 7 cost now opens up more room for your opponent to play around. with cards such as Vengeance. Ren Shadowblade Complete Do-Over, covering his cost, health, power, ability. Ren Shadowblade is going from a 6/4/8 cost into a 3/3/4 cost. Ren's old ability made it so every time your opponent summoned a minion, they'd get ephemeral. So every time they attack or block, or if the turn just ends, that minion would be destroyed. Now, Ren, with his quick attack, every time he strikes, creates a Shadow Fiend in hand, which just gives more ammo for ephemeral decks, or just gives you a 4/3 to keep attacking with. He went from a really annoying card to a card I'm actually considering for Hecarim decks. Jay Madara is going from an 8 cost to a 6 cost, while having his stats go from 6/6 to 4/4. He also lost his elusive keyword, along with his ability of when he's targeted, draw a card. He now has, if he's targeted and survives, draw a card. He wasn't seen as the best endgame monster, but with this, they're hoping to push him as a more mid-range beat stick that might net you some draws when they try to remove it. Escaped Abomination is turning into a 4/4 to a 4/3. This new Escaped Abomination's way easier to remove because the Shadow Isles just had too much removal on their own field, like with Glimpse Beyond. They were able to destroy Cursed Keeper. They were able to just keep going on curve. So attacking with a 1/1 and then eating it with Glimpse Beyond and just having a 4/4 on the field was really hard to remove. Now that he's a 4/3, it'll be easier to remove with cards such as Black Spear or Gotcha. Herring, going from 10 cost to 9 cost. It seemed a bit too costly for what it does, but I really appreciated it because it just summoned 6 minions that you could attack with, and that was really useful late game when you had no other cards in hand. Dredges, going from 2 power to 1. Deep Decks is a late game deck that focuses on removing as many cards from your deck as possible to empower your other deep cards. To offset their late game presence, they gave them a really weak early game, and Dredges was too strong for what it was. It was a 2/1 that was able to remove most cards that are dropped on that curve. So they're nerfing Deep a little bit by making Dredges a card that tossed 3 a bit weaker, so it can't remove as much. Mind Meld, going from 8 cost to 7 cost. This card does not do much, and Riot saw that. So now they're giving it a little bit of buff, but I still wouldn't use it in most decks. It's just, you just run so many other better cards. Sure, you could swarm your board and hope to Mind Meld and just eliminate your opponent, but the setup for that's pretty hard since you still have to set up spells in your graveyard. Petty Officer getting a health buff from 1 to 2. This card at 3 cost 3/1 wasn't seen as good enough for Bilgewater aggro, so they're trying to buff them up to give them more options, while also still allowing the player to have the barrel. New wording on stuff, Nab. Instead of the normal steal cards, they now have Nab, which steals a non-champion card from the bottom of the opponent's deck. Sure, it might not seem like that big of a difference, but cards like Freylord buff decks buff the top cards of the deck, so having a buff card removed from you and just stolen could be really annoying, so maybe we will see more Freylord. Along with the Nab change, Black Market Merchant's going from a 2 health minion to a 1 health minion, because that card's value from stealing was insane. Personal stuff I'm really appreciative is text consistency. So now they're fixing it up, so if it says enemies, it'll now specifically say enemies and the enemy nexus, so you don't have to question what the ability really does. They changed the phrasing of next round to start of next round, so you really know the timing of how things works, along with swapping the word for numbers like 1 or 2 with the actual digit when applicable. I'll put in the description down below the list of cards that they're changing, but it's a pretty big list to see for consistency. So that's it for the card changes. Let me know below if I missed anything or if you think something else should have gotten nerfed. I don't know, maybe Fiora shouldn't be in the game. Maybe it's kind of weird that she just insta-wins, but thank you for watching either way. See ya!